Hey everyone, this is Kevin Gallagher with Remax Results in the Zenith City Group, and this is Travis Coleman of Coleman Home Inspections.
Hello.
We're just going to be answering a couple questions about the home inspection when you write an offer. Why is that valuable to a buyer, and so on and so forth. So, before we get into it, Travis, if you just want to tell us, where you work and a couple things about what inspired you to get into home inspections in the first place. That'd be great.
Sure. Well, yeah, as Kevin said, I'm Travis with Coleman Home Inspections, and the first thing that I ever experienced as far as a home inspection was buying my first house, and I had a home inspection done then, and that was 15 years ago, and so that always stuck with me, being somebody that was interested in building trades and those sorts of things, and always involved in those building houses and remodeling and that sort of thing. So that was my first experience with it. So then, it was 10 years later or so that I decided this would be kind of an interesting path to go down and educate people and teach them what I can teach them about their future purchase. So that's kind of what led me into it anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and there is a lot to know about a house there. So, just
Right.
in terms of when you do the home inspection, what are you looking for? Is it like, are you looking at age of roof? Are you looking at barns, garages, houses? Like,
Right.
what type of things do you look at?
Yeah, and that's a common question people have is what do you inspect, And so we inspect the roof to the best of our ability. This time of year, it's a little bit difficult because they're snow covered.
This is true.
But and the outside too, and grading and stuff like that kind of leaves a little bit more to the imagination than we'd like. But we do what we can there. There's a few tricks that we picked up through the years. So, but anything from the roof down to the crawl space or foundation, electrical services, we open them up and inspect inside as long as we can. Sometimes we can't. It is important to realize that a home inspection is a visual examination. We can't be drilling holes in walls or pulling attic accesses off or cutting holes or cutting open the attic access and those sorts of things. So
Right.
it is important to realize that. But otherwise, anything we can visually inspect, see, or operate, that is basically what a home inspection involves. So yeah, it's it can be an interesting process. People tend to learn quite a bit. It tends to be an education for just about everybody involved, no matter what their background, because unless you do it all the time, you just don't see those different things,
Sure.
So
Would you say you do mostly like single family residential homes too?
yeah, that's 90% of it is single family residential. There's some commercial. I've done some commercial buildings, not very many, but there is a little bit of that out there, and then duplexes and triplexes and quadplexes and those sorts of things too. We definitely take a look there, and they're just as interesting, and you learn just as much from them as anything else. Typically they're very similar to a house. They're just everything's bigger, So,
Right.
commercial buildings can be quite a bit different, from their system standpoint, but they can be very similar too. So yeah, there's a couple different deals going there, but yeah.
Sure. So, when you're doing the home inspection, where do you see people get nervous the most? Is it sellers, buyers? Buyers are like, oh my gosh, this furnace is 50 years old. Now I'm going to pay another 15 grand.
Yes, that happens. Yep.
So yeah, just curious, where do people get the most nervous in that whole process?
Just like you said, just about anytime something's not quite right, people get very nervous. Roofs in this area, for some reason, and I say for some reason because it's not that way everywhere, but people are very concerned about roofs and their integrity there. But in the furnace, mechanical, but anything expensive, if it's not going the way it should be, or it's older than you anticipated, or outside of its service life, then people seem to get pretty nervous about that. And rightfully so to some extent, but at the same time realize that anything is going to eventually wear out and need replacement. If you replace it, you get the benefit of that newer, device, appliance, roof, whatever it is. And I think that's a great benefit, and really underrated, that they get that benefit of you have an old furnace and you buy the house and it goes bad. Well, now you've installed a newer furnace that's maybe higher efficiency or something like that.
Absolutely. And this coming back to that, whole cost of materials and things like that. I know as a buyer's agent, I get a lot of questions on, oh, do I really have to use a home inspector? It's like $300 to $500, and to be honest with you, this is like a very thorough, in-depth evaluation of the systems of your home.
Right.
Even though it's out of pocket $400 or whatever the cost, you could potentially save thousands of dollars down the line, and knowing like, oh, hey, that crack in the foundation that we missed going through the first walk through the house. Well, guess what? Now a guy like Travis is going to go there and to let you know that's a $12,000 repair. Mm-hmm. So in terms of that, I think that's a really valuable.
I think
that's really valuable information that you provide.
Right. Yeah, and it takes, we'll say 2 to 4 hours, but quite typically it's 3 hours. That's the number I always use. And typically the length of time I always book the property for, if we're going to do a home inspection, and we'll fit it into that time frame, and if we need to stick around a little longer, then we're going to beg for forgiveness if necessary. So and we try not to attach any dollar amounts to if there's a certain problem or something, try to refer you to a professional to avoid any of that, because our job is to identify. We're a generalist, so our job is to identify if there's a problem or a condition that exists that's not normal. And if we do that, then we refer that typically to whatever professional is involved. Be it electrician, plumber, or heating and cooling guy. Whoever's going to be making the repair or would be qualified to do so. So
sure,
yeah.
So
that's typically
in terms of just the home inspection of the house. What other types of inspections do you offer? For buyers? Right.
So we do home inspections for buyers is the primary focus generally of what we do. With radon testing is a pretty common thing to have done. So that's something we can do. Water quality testing, and we just take a water sample and bring it to a certified lab here locally in Duluth. And then they test it for just about anything you can imagine you can test water for. They can test water for. So, and the price of those things is dependent on a few factors. So, and then we can do a pre-sale inspection also. So if you're looking to sell your house, we can inspect it beforehand, and that's kind of a nice benefit. It lets you control things a little bit better, I think, as a seller. And then you're more aware of what's going on, as opposed to letting the buyer inspect it, and people can, things can just get, we're getting surprised, more than anything. So,
absolutely.
But those are the primary focuses. Like I say, commercial inspection, those sorts of things, obviously, too, are something we do, but just not as much of. So, but yeah, that's pretty much the general focus of things. Anyways, I've been contracted to do a few other things, we'll do system specific inspections and that sort of thing. Sometimes there's either a financing company that's worried about the foundation, so they'll send me out to look at it, and I can look at it, and sometimes that appeases that situation, and sometimes it doesn't. So
sure,
sometimes their lender needs just more information about it, and they want it from a third party.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So it's a lot more behind the scenes too. A lot more than just a standard home inspection.
Yeah.
There are
there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of like with your job. Yeah. There's a lot more
Yes.
going on sometimes than meets the eye.
Contrary to belief,
Right.
we do more than just opening doors to houses.
That's
yes.
right. Exactly. So.
Well, awesome, man.
But yeah. No, very good. It was a pleasure, and
yeah, thanks for taking the time to talk.
No,
just real quick, like where can
Excellent,
people find out about you? You got a website or Facebook at all where they can contact you?
Yeah, they can find me on Facebook at Coleman Home Inspections, and I got a website. It is cloquethomeinspector.com, and don't be deceived by that. We serve Duluth, probably up to 2 harbors in Silver Bay, out east of Superior, west probably to Aitken, and then south to Willow River, Hinckley in some cases, and those sorts of things. So, but yeah, and feel free to contact me anyway. Number is 218-240-1984.
Awesome. Yeah. And if you guys have any questions at all, feel free to comment in the comment section below. Send me a message, send Travis a message. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, always willing to help out. So even if you had a home inspection by somebody else, or if I did it, or if you're buying or selling, feel free to give me a call or text message, email, and reach out, and I'd be happy to give you some guidance the best I can. So, absolutely.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.